Hello and welcome to the Vibrant Health Show. Today we're going to be talking all about coming off birth control, but also how to balance your hormones naturally. So I'm just going to open up so I can see y'all's comments here. If you have comments, if you're watching live, or if you're on the replay or watching on YouTube, feel free to ask questions in the comments and I'll come back and check those. Okay. Last week, if you missed it, we talked about birth control in detail. We talked about dangers of birth control. We talked about some of the things that birth control does to your body. And that conversation is really important to listen before this conversation. So feel free to listen today, but go back and watch last week if you missed it, because a lot of the reasons we're going to go over some of the suggestions today is because of the things that we know birth control imbalances creates in the body. And it's really, really, really important to make sure you're supporting those areas, ideally before choosing to come off of birth control. And if you've already come off and you're feeling some of these post-birth control kind of syndrome symptoms, it's not too late. You can still go back and support, but the process is so much smoother if you prep first and then have a nice, safer transition off of birth control. And that includes the pill or an IUD or any form of hormonal birth control that you might be taking. You really want to make sure you prep the body. If you know me, you know I'm all about phases. Doing the right thing at the right time is really what makes the magic happen. You can do a lot of wonderful things if you do it out of order for what the body needs. Oftentimes you won't get the results that you're looking for. So the strategy, the plan behind all of this with any type of health, right? Whether it's gut health or hormone health or thyroid health, coming off birth control, detoxing, there always needs to be a strategy and a plan to make sure that you are prepping the body, supporting the body, detoxing the body, and rebuilding the body. Incredibly important. So I'm going to take you through those steps today, specifically when it comes to birth control, but this also is very relevant for any type of hormone, gentle hormone detox, right? So any type of hormone imbalance, even if you're not on birth control, a lot of the suggestions we're going to talk about today is still something you can implement. And then you can feel free to go back. I have lots of different videos about estrogen dominance and progesterone if you want to know specific things about each hormone imbalance. But this is great, just hormone support information with a little specific twist for coming off or regulating after birth control. So make sure you watch last week's. And then also remember, coming off birth control is a process, right? It's not like I was just listening to a lady's story and she's like, I thought I just came off birth control and then my cycle came back the next month and there was really nothing I had to do about it. And I didn't realize how much my body was going to have to adapt and change coming off birth control. And one of the main reasons for that is, just like we talked about last week, birth control squashes your natural hormone. The way it works in the body is it gives you so much synthetic hormone that it turns off your brain's ability to make its own hormone. That's the mechanism behind it, if you didn't know that. So it disrupts the communication from your brain to your ovaries and your uterus on purpose, right? That's how it helps with contraception. That's how it avoids pregnancy. But that means for however long you've been on the pill or on an IUD, your brain hasn't been making adequate amounts of its own natural hormone. And one of the most important things in transitioning smoothly off birth control, right? There's a difference between just stopping it cold turkey, which is a terrible idea, and transitioning off of it is really making sure we're regulating and supporting the body's ability to start making its own hormones again. So we'll talk about that today. We also know that there are really major things that birth control disrupts in the gut. There's nutrients and vitamins and minerals that we know all forms of hormonal birth control will deplete. We want to make sure we're supporting those. And we know that our gut and our liver are the most important places to help us properly metabolize the birth control and be able to make our own hormones. So the way we support our bodies to make this a good transition is supporting gut and liver, reducing inflammation, reestablishing that communication of your own brain to your hormones, and then really making sure we're repleting and replenishing the body with the things we've been deficient in because of birth control. And if you do those things for 30 to 90 days first, the transition off of birth control is going to be so much smoother. So we're going to talk through that today. We're going to talk about prep phase, what you should do prior. But again, if you've already come off birth control and you're having any of these symptoms or not feeling great, or even if you feel fine, you still need to do some work to make sure you're correcting the imbalances that it's created. So you're welcome to do the prep phase even after you come off birth control. It's not that you can't do it, but it works best if you do it prior. I'll talk about some of the things I have women do as they're transitioning off of birth control, that first month or two as they come off, and then what you want to do to make sure you're getting your proper hormone balance back after you've made that transition. So let's get started. Let me know if you're watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I see lots of people jumping on. Welcome, everybody. Let me know as we go. Comments, questions, if you had an experience coming off birth control, if you have a story, I would love for you to share that because so many women do, and we don't often talk about it. So let's start with the prep phase. Again, ideally 30 to 90 days before actually stopping the birth control would be great. I know that's not always in a perfect world, but if you can, plan ahead and start these things right away. The first one, I'm a big fan of. The more you can do with your own lifestyle and through nutrition, better. And then we add supplementation and support where needed. So step one is always nutrition. If you are planning this transition off, or you come off, or if you have any type of hormone symptoms, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're cleaning up your food. So we really want to make sure we're following an anti-inflammatory nutrition plan. Now, I always laugh whenever I kind of read articles or watch videos. Everyone will say, oh, follow an anti-inflammatory food plan. And they'll say, you know, you should cut out sugar, you should cut out grains, you should cut out cow's dairy, add some vegetables. But they don't really give you a whole lot more information than that, right? So even that can feel overwhelming. And all of that is true, right? The definition of an anti-inflammatory food plan is reducing inflammatory foods, which are your grains, in particular gluten. It's your sugars, especially processed ones. You really want to make sure you're not doing added food dyes and chemicals. Cow's dairy is very inflammatory. So all of those things, I generally tell everybody, it's best for you to minimize or eliminate those because they're just not good for your body. But there are also some other intricacies. Now, because it's such a large topic, I actually have an entire video on what the best changes to make for an anti-inflammatory diet are. So don't feel overwhelmed. There is a much more specific video. If you know that that's the place you need to start and you need to clean up your food, just go ahead and search anti-inflammatory nutrition or food plans in this group or on my YouTube channel, and I have lots of guidance, things that will really help you. I also have challenges we do every quarter. And if you're watching this in real time, we're in the fall. I have my fall challenge that's going to roll out over the next 2 weeks. So if you want actual meal plans and recipes every quarter, I'm always providing lots of that help for you guys because I know it can be overwhelming. So don't get overwhelmed with the food piece. I promise I'll give you more resources. But food is number one, right? We've got to reduce the inflammation and then add back nutritionally some of the foods that help support hormone detox, which really are your leafy greens because they're full of B vitamins, they're full of minerals. You're getting a lot of your phytonutrients from good leafy greens. Cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, your cauliflower, those are absolutely pivotal in being able to properly detox estrogens. And if you're unaware, the estrogens you're getting from birth control are synthetic, which means your body has a really hard time detoxing them naturally. So adding extra support to help detox is always a great idea. So if nothing else, we're going to start adding leafy greens. We're going to make sure we're every day having some type of cruciferous vegetable. And my most favorite food for hormone detoxification is beets, including the beet greens. There is so many phytonutrients and B vitamins and detox properties in beets. They're my favorite one to add if you're prepping the body. So I will eat them, I'll add them to salads. I also juice them. If you know you're not getting enough of those, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, beets, even lemons and limes are great detoxers. I love just making a big old vegetable juice a couple times a week. So I know I'm getting plenty of those types of foods to help my body detox from a food source, so I don't have to add so much as far as supplements and vitamins. So if you haven't done that, if you haven't just changed up your nutrition, that is step one, starting immediately. That's also step one for anybody. If this isn't even a hormone issue for you, you still always start with food. So step one, look for additional resources for meal plans, and then watch out for the fall challenge that's coming out these next couple of weeks if you want actual meal plans and resources for an anti-inflammatory food plan. We also want to make sure we're getting enough of the different food groups, right? Food types. So we need to make sure we're getting high quality protein. Protein is so important for your body to have energy to be able to detox and self-regulate and form its own hormones again, right? That takes work, that takes energy. So making sure you're hitting enough protein, which I would say probably across the board is the thing women are not getting enough of. realistically, you should be getting about 100 grams of protein every single day, especially if you're trying to rebuild hormone. Your body needs more of those building blocks. And on average, when I have a woman track how many protein grams she's getting, it's usually about 60. You're probably about 40 grams deficient that your body really needs for all of the processes it's going to take to come off of birth control or regulate any type of hormone imbalance. So start looking at that. How much protein do you think you're getting in a day? Track it for a day or two. There's tons of apps and trackers. See what your average intake is, and then you'll know what gap you have to fill with additional healthy, good quality protein, right? Not crappy protein bars, healthy, good quality protein like lean meats, grass-fed, organic meats, nuts, I love to add like the organic beef sticks. I'll have 1 or 2 of those a day to make sure I'm getting extra protein. You can find good protein powders to add. There's lots of options. Really aiming for that 100 grams of protein is important. Healthy fats, especially for hormone production. Hormones are actually made from cholesterol. A lot of people don't realize that. So cholesterol is the building block for estrogen and progesterone and all of these hormones, but we need good healthy fats to have the right good healthy ratios. So adding avocados, adding a good quality, like olive oil to different things. You can add coconut, you can add all these beautiful things with lots of healthy fats, but you do want to increase your fat intake, prepping your body to come off birth control or balance any types of hormones. And then making sure you're getting plenty of fiber-rich foods. If you're doing a lot of the cruciferous vegetables, if you're doing a lot of those other things, you're getting quite a bit of that, but just making sure, mainly because we need to be having regular bowel movements. A lot of this prep phase is about making sure your body is ready to detox, and daily regular bowel movements are key. So start by switching up your nutrition if you haven't yet. For a lot of people, that alone is going to help regulate bowel movements. You're going to feel like you're having better digestive health than you've ever had before, just cleaning up your diet. If it doesn't, or maybe you've already made a lot of nutritional changes and you still feel like you have those gut issues, I highly suggest getting a stool sample, because if your gut and your liver are not ready to detox, it is going to be much, much harder for you to come off the pill or IUD or whatever it is. And those are typically the people I find who end up having like the acne coming off birth control, or having horrible cycles again, or having weight gain after coming off birth control. It's usually because your gut and your liver were not ready for the transition yet. So really making sure you're prepping that. So start with the simple things, but if you still feel like those symptoms are lingering, the gut isn't doing what it's supposed to do, you're not having daily bowel movements, or you're still getting a lot of bloating, highly suggest getting a stool sample to see what's going on with gut function to help support that transition off. So step 1, anti-inflammatory nutrition plan, making sure you're tracking protein, adding lots of those good vegetables that have phytonutrients, cruciferous vegetables, try juicing if you feel like you're not getting enough of those, and then really focusing on healthy fats, healthy proteins, and then lots of those nutrient-rich foods. We want to start that immediately. In addition to that, we do want to replenish the things that we know that birth control depletes, right? So even when we're eating a lot of good food, I just posted a video about this, to actually get the amount of nutrients and vitamins and phytominerals that you need, we're talking 8 to 10 servings of vegetables per day. Realistically, you're not getting that. And unfortunately, because our soil is depleted, the way farming is now, the scarcity of food sources, our food doesn't pack as much nutrients as it used to. So the old recommendations were 5 to 6 servings. Now it takes 8 to 10 minimum to get all the things we need, which is why it's become more important to supplement, right? I hate that we have to always go to supplements for things, but because of the sourcing of our food and what we're consuming on a daily basis, it does become necessary for most people to add some supplementation. So specifically for hormones, even more specifically, the things that birth control depletes in your body: magnesium and B vitamins, antioxidants, zinc, selenium, and vitamin C. Those are the big ones that really get depleted quickly on birth control. So prior, right, not, and again, after if you have to, but ideally prior, you're going to replete your body with all of these minerals and nutrients so that it has more energy and strength to detox and transition. So 2 of the things I'd like to add, last week I talked about my favorite one, it's called Vibrant. It's actually my hair and skin support, but because all the things that are great for hair and skin, antioxidants, B vitamins, magnesium, all those beautiful things, also replenish those different things that birth control will deplete. The Vibrant supplement is my favorite thing. That's typically what I'll put a woman on as she transitions off her birth control if we're working together one-on-one. It has a lot of the main things that you would need. The second thing that I add that I didn't talk about last week is a good glandular complex. If you don't know anything about glandular complexes, they are whole food sources of different organ meats, different glands that have specific function in the body. So when you take vitamins or minerals or nutrients, you're getting kind of the isolated form of those nutrients in a capsule or in a liquid, and you're taking those, which is fine. But in the glandular form, you're getting them more in a whole food source, and you're getting it from the actual tissues. So for example, if we need the liver to work well to detox birth control, supporting the liver with actual liver tissue is the best thing for it. Supporting the thyroid, which actual thyroid tissue is the best thing for it. Supporting the ovaries and the uterus with glandular tissue. It's like nutrient-filled multivitamin for certain organs. So I always add that, some type of a glandular complex. I have one, I'll put the link down here for it, that is a blend of different glandular complexes. Sometimes you can get just liver, you can get just brain, all kinds of different ones. If you think it sounds weird, I promise there's so much research that really good quality, high quality glandular complex is better than any multivitamin you're going to take, because it has the right blend of whole food nutrition, not just a bunch of synthetic things thrown in there. So that one would be my second addition in that prep phase, because Vibrant has all the antioxidants and all the vitamins, and then the glandular is actually going to help support the glands, the organs, the tissues that we need working at full force before we transition off of those. So those are two really simple things to add right away, 30 to 90 days prior. I would even stay on those two for a month or two after, until we get some new testing to see where those hormones have landed. Those are going to be your ideal things to support and to replenish the deficiencies. So I'll put links to both of those below so you can have references for those, but those are going to be your best ways to replenish. Number 3, so we talked about food. We talked about replenishing nutrients. Number 3 is love on your gut and your liver. They are the places that are going to do majority of the work through this transition. But this goes for anything. If you have bad cycles, if you have irregular cycles, if you have bloating, if you have digestive issues, a little extra love to your gut and your liver can go a very long way. Now, you can go very deep into this, right? The women that I work with one-on-one, we go deep into inflammation, immune system, gut healing. There's a lot of layers that go into that, but just about anybody can start somewhere. So I'm going to give you the initial recommendations that I feel like are safe for everyone to start with. Obviously, if you have a bacterial overgrowth or yeast or parasites, those protocols are going to be much more specific and a lot different. But today we're just talking about support. How do we make sure these areas are working as best as we can get them to be able to do the work that we need them to do? So I'm going to give you 3 things that are really easy to find that you can add right away that help calm inflammation in the digestive tract, help make sure bowel movements are working good, and that you're eliminating as efficiently as you possibly can. The first one is aloe vera juice. Absolutely love it. A good organic aloe vera juice is soothing. Think about how soothing aloe is to your skin. It does the same thing inside your body. So if you are constipated, if you have like bowel movements with just like small pieces that come out, aloe vera juice really kind of helps lubricate that whole system. It's wonderful just to calm inflammation in the gut, which will help it work better just naturally. The lower the inflammation, the better your body can heal. So adding half a cup a day, adding a couple ounces every couple hours. You can't really overdo it with aloe juice, which is great. So I have an adrenal tonic recipe that is quarter cup to half a cup of aloe vera juice. And then I'll add some lemon or lime. I'll add some Celtic sea salt. I'll add a little bit of coconut water for minerals. And I drink that just about every day. Yes, it also helps my adrenals, but it's spot on for gut inflammation and gut health and helping healthy bowel movements. That video is also tagged in this group, and I also have it up on YouTube as well. So if you want the actual recipe for the adrenal tonic, go ahead and look that up, and then I can tag it in the comments as well. But starting that right away, it's simple, it's easy, it's food-based, it's not taking a bunch more supplements. That's the ideal place to start. So adding the aloe vera juice, or if you want to go one step further, adding the adrenal tonic, which is my favorite. And then there are 2 types of teas or herbs that you can find just about anywhere that are wonderful for gut and liver support. The first one is dandelion root tea. I talk about that often whenever I'm talking about hormone balance, because it's just such a natural and gentle way to support liver detox, to support the gut. It helps open up the pathways so your body can release some of the synthetic hormones that you're getting from birth control. Really so many great benefits, and you can get it just about anywhere. If ever you're getting a tea form, just always make sure it's organic, right? We don't want a bunch of chemicals and crap added to the things that we're doing to help reduce inflammation. But that's a really easy one to find. Have a tea. It also comes in liquid form, like you can do tinctures of it. That's fine too. But dandelion root is phenomenal. And then the third one is called marshmallow root. Marshmallow root has a lot of different benefits. So it's known to be great for the immune system. It's also known to be great to help kind of strengthen the gut lining. So that nice lubricated lining of the gut helps detox, helps bowel movements, helps release your antibodies to strengthen immune function. The lining of your gut does a lot of jobs, and marshmallow root is very nutrient dense for that specific area of the body. So it's another one you can do a marshmallow root tea. You can get it in a tincture form. There's lots of different ways you can do it. But those three things are safe and great for just about everybody. There's really no reason not to do those. The aloe vera, the dandelion root, and the marshmallow root, great for gut health to start prepping the body. You'll notice one of the things I didn't recommend is immediately jumping on a probiotic, because I am of the camp that a probiotic does not fix everything. In fact, there are times that you should not be on one if you have certain types of imbalances in the gut. Maybe you already have a bacterial overgrowth. So being really careful when we talk gut health, I feel like everyone immediately goes to digestive enzymes and a probiotic. And for some people, that's okay. But in my experience from testing thousands of stool samples, for a lot of people, that's not the answer. I would much rather you focus on calming inflammation in the gut, stimulating healthy bowel movements, and then making sure that you're getting any additional testing before you start mega dosing certain bacteria or certain strains of probiotics that could ultimately not be what your body needs. So I highly recommend just stay simple, right? Make the simple changes, support the body. Don't mega dose anything that you might not need. A couple other very simple things that you can start doing, specifically for the liver. We want to stimulate the body's ability to self-detox, right? It can do it. Unfortunately, for most of us, we're just so full of other chemicals and junk and imbalances and inflammation and yeast and all the things that maybe it's not doing a great job of it. So we want to support giving it a little extra oomph to be able to do that. And one of the simplest ways is through castor oil packs. It's funny, I feel like this is like the new craze. They've been around forever, but all of a sudden now it's all over social media and everyone's talking about them. I feel like it's much more kind of mainstream now than it ever was before, but it's highly effective and it's very gentle and typically does not create any major detox response. You shouldn't have too many like detox symptoms, which is what we always want to avoid early on. So doing castor oil packs over the abdomen, you can do them over like the lower abdomen where your uterus and your ovaries are. And then in particular, you want to make sure you're wrapping it around the right side of your body, just under your rib cage. Let me take a sip of water. So that's right where your liver sits. So your liver is under your rib cage on the right-hand side, front and back. So we're going to wrap that castor oil pack around that right side over the liver. You can also move it around to get it through the abdomen. It's also great if you have heavy cycles or cramping on your cycles, doing a castor oil pack through those days of your cycle really help just calm inflammation and support and soothe. So I recommend if you haven't tried a castor oil pack, do it. There's no reason not to, but especially prepping or coming off birth control. Anything we can do to help that liver will be wonderful. Another really simple thing I'll have people do is a gentle lymphatic massage. So you have, especially just kind of multiple areas of the body where we know there's a big lymphatic, kind of bundle of lymph nodes. So one is down the side of your neck. It's so simple. All you have to do is just massage those lymph nodes, right? We're just stimulating. We want the body to turn on and start moving things around. So just feeling down your neck, there's some right behind your ear, there's some down the side of your neck, and then there's actually one right behind your collarbone. So behind your ear, side of that muscle of your neck, behind your collarbone, under your armpit, right? We have lots of lymph nodes under there. Really, you're just rubbing, you're just gently moving it around. We're stimulating it to release any junk that's stuck in there. You'd want to do it on both sides. And then we also have lymph nodes in our groins. I'm going to stand up and show you real quick, but kind of right where your hip bone meets your leg in that kind of groin area. I know that might have been hard to see, but you can picture. And then we have lymph nodes in there, and you just want to massage through those. And there's plenty all other areas of the body, but just to get some gentle stimulation, it's something you can do every day. If you sit at a desk, you can do it 3 times a day. You can just sit there between calls and massage your lymph nodes. Make sure things are moving. You can tap them, right? So there's the massaging and then there's also the tapping, which works great. It's also a wonderful stress relief, which brings me to my next topic. Minimizing physical and emotional stress while you transition off birth control is a must, right? I talk so much about stress management because I'm telling you, you cannot balance your hormones if you're in a constant state of stress. That includes physical stress, which means in addition to supporting our gut and our liver, I want you to minimize stress and exercise while you come off of birth control. For some of you, that's hard and you don't love hearing that. But any type of physical stress, which includes exercise, is going to deplete hormones. It's going to make it harder for our body to create new hormone. So in that transition period, taking it slow, focus on walking, focus on stretching, focus on doing more of the lymphatic massage, take that extra time to do a castor oil pack instead. It's not forever, but it's in that transition time. The body will do so much better if it's under the least amount of stress possible. So also, ideally, not choosing the most stressful season of your life to try and come off birth control either, right? If you have a lot of stuff going on, if there's been major changes, if it's a very busy work season, probably not the ideal time. Be smart about that. Choose the right time. Support your stress. Doing things like that self-massage, castor oil packs are also very calming. And then minimizing gentle exercise during that transition phase, which again is usually about 30 to 90 days. You want to be easy on your body so that it can focus primarily on detoxing and learning to create its new hormones again. So be easy on yourself in that phase. It's a phase for replenishing and resting, not pushing, not go, 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 not making your body do more than it's able to do, because it's hard work to come off birth control. It's hard work to balance hormones. Allow it to be able to do that in its full capacity. So be gentle with that. Also prioritizing things like meditation, breath work, anything that's going to calm your stress response will make your transition off birth control so much easier. Promise. In fact, I think that's probably even just as important, if not more important than the food piece. Start with food, manage your stress. Those two things alone will get you at least half of the way there. Then add replenishment, then add support for your gut, then add support for your liver. All of them are important, but food and stress probably trump all the other things if you're looking for a place to start. Okay, let's recap. I know we've hit a lot already. Now I'm going to teach you, after we recap prep, I'm going to teach you what things you should be looking at getting or doing in the actual come off of the birth control, and then what you do after that. So in the prep phase, we're doing anti-inflammatory nutrition plans. We're replenishing our body as best as we can with the things that have been depleted. My favorite things to add in is Vibrant, which is a beauty support full of antioxidants. And then the glandular complex, which is going to support in particular liver glandular. It has some kidney support in there, all the organs that are about to do a lot of work. We want to support them and love on them. You can add marshmallow root, dandelion root. You can add aloe vera juice, doing castor oil packs, doing lymphatic massage, all things to gently stimulate detox in the body. Those are things you want to get going as soon as possible to prep, minimizing stress, going easy on exercise, being willing to move into a season of more rest than pushing too hard. That's your job in the prep phase. Now, coming off birth control, whether you're getting to the end of your pack and you're going to start your bleeding cycle and you're going to stop it then, or if you're getting your IUD removed, right when you know you're deciding to come off of birth control. And I always highly suggest you work with somebody through this. Everyone's a little bit different. You're also going to have the best experience if you work one-on-one with somebody. But generally, when you come off of birth control, it's going to take your brain a few cycles to realize it has to make its own hormone, right? That's the biggest problem, is it hasn't made hormone in a very long time. So giving it really gentle, keyword gentle, things that can just stimulate its ability to make hormones again can be really effective. So in addition to staying on the mineral and the glandular support, the two things I often recommend is very gentle, low doses. Number one, of Vitex, which is also known as Chaste Tree. Vitex/Chaste Tree, they're the same thing, just different names, has a lot of beautiful properties to help support hormones through this transition. Number one, it helps stimulate natural progesterone production, which we will need coming off birth control. But most importantly, and why that's my choice, is it does so by stimulating your brain to release more of what's called your LH hormone, which is what gets the communication back. And remember, the communication being broken from your brain to your ovaries and uterus is the biggest problem with birth control. So instead of just trying to boost up hormones right away, we really want to work hard on getting the brain to start doing that again. So doing some great organic Chaste Tree or a Vitex throughout that transition off would be ideal. Typically, I say you want to do this support for about 2 cycles. So you want your cycle to return. You want to have 2 of them. And then you're going to want to get good hormone testing because everyone's hormones rebound differently. That's really, really important if they're coming off birth control. Typically about 60 to sometimes 90 days later, we absolutely need to do a Dutch test, which is the hormone and adrenal mapping. But in the meantime, supporting your body to be able to make hormones again. So Chaste Tree or Vitex, that helps progesterone, but also the brain function to the uterus and the ovaries. And then Dong Quai is a natural herb that helps stimulate just gentle estrogen production, making sure that if you're doing that, you're also keeping up with all the things helping your body detox the estrogens as well, right? So staying on the dandelion root tea, continue with the marshmallow root, staying on the glandular complex, because we certainly don't want estrogens to build up. And typically for most women, your estrogen will build up before your progesterone. Progesterone is usually the slower one to rebound back. Estrogens tend to come back quite a bit faster. So for a lot of women, just the Chaste Tree and the Vitex does okay. But if you notice you're a month off birth control and you're feeling really worn out, you're gaining weight, all these things are happening, I would suggest adding a little bit of Dong Quai for just a month or so until you get hormone testing to see how that has come up naturally. So those would be the 2 things hormone specific. They're also great for those 2 hormones at any phase of life, right? So maybe it's just a hormone imbalance or you struggle with deficient progesterone. Vitex is one of the best things for that. Deficient estrogens, Dong Quai is wonderful for that. Now, both of those I really primarily recommend for a woman who is still in cycling years. My suggestions for hormones change in perimenopause and postmenopause. Those would look a little bit different. But if you're a woman who's still having a regular cycle, or you hope to have a regular cycle, right? Maybe it's not regular right now, but you want it to be, those are 2 really gentle, relatively safe hormone supports across the board, Vitex and Dong Quai. But you wouldn't want to come off your mineral and glandular support yet. We want to support those tissues as we build back up. With the rule of thumb being 2 cycles or 90 days. If you're 90 days off birth control and you still have not had a cycle back yet, I would still suggest getting hormone testing at that point because we have to see why you're not cycling at all. So you're either going to start it back pretty quickly, and after 2 normal cycles, you get a Dutch test, or if you're 90 days post-birth control, still no cycle, we need to get our eyes on what's going on, what hormone's not rebounding, why it's not, coming back the way it needs to be. So hormone testing is imperative within 1 to 3 months after coming off birth control, because from there, you finally get to naturally balance your hormones appropriate to what your patterns are. Because by the time your cycle comes back, your hormones are going to look different than everyone else's, right? So there is no standard protocol from that point forward. The prep phase, the going through phase, that's pretty, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but pretty similar for most women, depending on what's going on with your gut and your immune system. But once you're off, we need to see your hormone patterns, your adrenal patterns, and that's where we get really intentional about properly supporting those so that you can maintain good hormone balance moving forward. And always remembering that coming off birth control, the research shows it can stay in your body up to 18 months. So don't expect to just stop it in 30 days from now, everything's back to normal. We've synthetically altered our body's ability to make hormone. It's going to take some time and support to get it back, but it's totally doable. And the more of these things you implement, it makes it so much easier, simpler, and less time that you're going to have that rebound. But having a little bit of rebound is normal. You synthetically squashed hormones for most of us decades, right? Before we choose to come off of it, 10 years at least. It's going to take some time for your body to rebound, and that's okay. Support it well, love on it, use the tips that we shared today. Again, I mentioned a couple of videos, they're all in here in the group if you just want to search them. I'll put as many links to those below so you can have easy access to them. And then if you're needing to or wanting to make those lifestyle and nutrition changes, keep your eyes open for the registration for the fall challenge, where I'll provide you all of my favorite anti-inflammatory food tips and recipes and meal plans to make that switch a whole lot easier as well. If you have a story about birth control, if you have things that you experience, questions, comments, please put them below. I will come back and answer all of those. And then we'll be back next week with a detailed dive into gut health, things to look for, what certain symptoms mean, what you can do to really start balancing gut health outside of just hormone balance. And we're going to have a huge conversation about that next week. So thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.